Coffee Talk. I am your host, MISHUMA SABA, M.SABA, and this is our Cultural Variety Podcast. Stay tuned. Peace, and welcome to Coffee Talk Podcast, the Cultural Variety Podcast show, and I am your host, MISHUMA SABA, M.SABA, and this is our Cultural Variety Podcast show. How y'all doing today? If y'all better yet to say this evening, February 4th, 2023. And before I go any further, I got to give pay homage and respect to my father, William Bill Morris. His birthday is today, so I definitely want to do that. Without him, there is no me. Definitely want to give a shout out if he's watching the show, Dad. Thank you for supporting the show, and happy birthday to you, big fella. No doubt. All right, so this is Coffee Talk Podcast. It's the Grown Folks Social Hour. Usually we keep guests on the weekends, or we like to go ahead and play 10-question Q&A. We like to go ahead and just have a good time. It's the end of the weekend, or should I say the week, and you guys are probably preparing dinner, or you're just finishing up with dinner, or you're just chilling. Getting your little sip on or something because you're probably going out tonight, or you're probably getting your sip on because you want to just relax, watch a movie with the family and enjoy your own comfort. You know what I'm saying? So again, this is Saturday, February 4th, 2023. I am your host, MISHUMA SABA. And, this is Coffee Talk Podcast, as you do know. All right. So I'm happy to be here, man. Let me know if you're happy to be here. If you're happy to be here, go ahead and drop us a comment. Let us know what type of day you having, man. If you're having a good day, let it be known. If you're having an average day, let it be known. If you're having a day that's not subpar for your likings, then let us know, man. We are always here to definitely be an ear for you. And maybe even pass something inspiring to uplift you, man, and to re-energize you. You know what I'm saying? Because you are a valuable person. And, Coffee Talk Podcast likes to provide that flavor and keep everything positive and righteous. You know what I'm saying? But I'm happy to be here, man. It's Saturday. What did y'all do today? Any of y'all's parents or parents or soccer moms or, anything like that you playing basketball? The kids playing basketball? Are you going to any museums, art fairs? How's the kids doing? Go ahead and leave us a comment. Let us know how you are doing as well, because you are valuable and you are important. What was for dinner? Go ahead and leave a comment. Let me know. All right, but if this is your first time here at Coffee Talk Podcast, I'd like to let you know we never begin our show without giving it its flavor and its wise words. So tonight, let's go ahead and begin. Let's get this thing cracking, shall we? Let's go. Let's get cracking. Let's still say cracking. What do today's kids say? We getting this lit. Saba, we getting this lit. We're going to get it cracking. The 90s here. We're going to get it cracking tonight. All right, so listen. Today's flavor is this. Today's flavor is an aphrodisiac drink. An aphrodisiac drink. Why did I choose to say an aphrodisiac drink as today's flavor? Because the aphrodisiac drink is a cocktail, any cocktail that may contain gin. Gin causes the strongest aphrodisiac effect. Gin contains a high profile of botanicals, which can attribute to sexual behavior and emotions. Beer and red wine are also known to be aphrodisiac drinks. So tonight's flavor is aphrodisiac drinks. Here are 9 aphrodisiac drinks or aphrodisiac cocktails to spice up your night. Here they go. Casino Royale with egg yolks. Why? Because egg yolks has been considered a stimulant since ancient times when it comes to drinks. So Casino Royale. Number 2 aphrodisiac cocktail or drink is chili martini. Third is ginseng ginger spritz. Fourth is the chocolate rye. 5 is gin cocktail with honey and lemon cordial. 6 is a spiced Manhattan cocktail. 7 is a ginger peach margarita. 8 is a brandy Alexander. And 9 is a muscadet with oysters, the greatest aphrodisiac in the world, thanks to its high zinc content. So tonight's flavor is any aphrodisiac drink that you drinking on to create that aphrodisiac effect, as long as you got some gin in it, and you are of age, people. They'll be writing in my show talking about, hey, man, you're letting anybody drink. You're talking about liquor. Yep, we're giving it the flavor. That's the flavor tonight. But like I always tell my fans, and my supporters, man, listen, come on in, pour yourself some water, some wine, a smoothie, a beer, a cappuccino. But whatever you do, just come on in, kick your feet up, and enjoy yourself here in our humble home here at Coffee Talk Podcast. All right, listen. We're going to jump right into the wise words. This brother's wise words, he done left a lot of quotes in life, man. Important quotes, positive affirmations. And we've actually used some of his quotes in the past on the show. And so he's back again for a second time. May his wise words uplift you all. But tonight's wise words is by a former outfielder, Major League Baseball outfielder for the New York Mets back in 1976. He only played 1 year. He was born November 16th, 1948, and his name is Leon Brown. Today's wise words here at Coffee Talk Podcast is by Leon Brown, and this is what Leon had to say. Your life is a product of your thoughts. What you think about all day becomes the basis of your life. We'll say it one more time. Your life is a product of your thoughts. What you think about all day becomes the basis of your life. Leon Brown, born November 16th, 1948. All right, so then let's go ahead and get into it, man. We got 2 segments tonight. We're going to talk about Kyrie Irving, man. Kyrie Irving's back in the news. And I salute the brother, as we do here at Coffee Talk Podcast. We salute our people, our ancestors, our doctors, our lawyers, our scholars, our athletes, our heroes. And tonight I want to talk about Kyrie because Kyrie's in the news because he has been trying to get an extension, a contract extension. And, he's doing that because he wants to remain in Brooklyn. He wants to play for the Brooklyn Nets. He's been currently playing. He's actually been chosen to be in the All-Star game, which I'm glad the NBA didn't do none of that politic bullshit and keep him out. So he is a starter, by the way, for the Eastern Conference and the All-Star game coming up, the NBA All-Star game. But with Kyrie, with a year left of next year, actually, he has an opt-out clause, meaning that at the end of this season, he can choose to just opt out and he doesn't have to re-sign with the Brooklyn Nets. And the Brooklyn Nets would not receive any confirmation for letting him just get away. So the Brooklyn Nets have an issue on their hand. And that is February 9th is the trading deadline in the NBA. And so with only, 5 days left, they have to decide, are they going to extend Kyrie Irving's contract and keep Kyrie? He's looking for possibly an extension in the range of $198 million for the next 4 years. That's what he's owed on the market. Or if you ain't going to give him that, he's going to bounce. Here's my whole thoughts on this situation, because it's about to get a little bit deeper with me, as well as the whole situation. We're going to really pull it out and see what this is about. Kyrie Irving is having a tremendous year. He's averaging 27 points per game. And here's my thoughts. Kyrie, I don't mind if you leave the Brooklyn Nets. Players today do not have any attachments to NBA teams, and they shouldn't. NBA teams, NFL teams, all these sports franchise teams over the last 3-4 years and showed how they really feel about the athlete. I mean, come on, let's keep it real. There's a lot of receipts that we can bring up. But one of the things that catches my attention, that really gives me a bad taste in my mouth, it really makes me just look at clowns for what they are. And that's the old media and its correspondents, or those sports shows. I remember how the brother Kyrie Irving, who is in search of knowledge itself, has been trying to find himself. Matter of fact, over the last 10 years of his career, he found out that his mother was part of a native tribe. And he's just been on a path to find himself, to find out who he is, where he comes from. There's no problem with that. I don't have a problem with that. Every person should find out who they are versus allowing another people to tell you who you are. You don't understand that, you will never understand white supremacy and racism. Well, Kyrie Irving, when he was talking about the documentary, the Hebrew documentary, by the way, I forgot the title of it. It doesn't really matter. We all remember the story. While he was searching for his roots, let's just say, he started to get ridiculed, from the Charles Barkleys to the Shaquille Big Bully O'Neal to the Stephen A. Smiths. He was getting ridiculed. To the what's the other brother's name that be everywhere now? Steven Jackson. A lot of people were disappointed in Kyrie because Kyrie mentioned the documentary. He never really said how he felt about it. He was just mentioning it by posting it on his page or on his internet site. And as you all know, because you haven't been sleeping under a rock, Kyrie went through a lot of bullshit for a black man just trying to find himself. So much so that owner Joe Tsai, who is an Asian man, by the way, did not back his star player, did not support his player. More likely was catching a lot of heat from the Shield as well, and those certain people that control entertainment. But Joe Tsai didn't back his player at all, didn't come to his aid at all. Matter of fact, even gave his player demands that, look, we can't have you on the Brooklyn Nets. Kyrie missed about 26 games. I don't know if that's a $250,000 or more. I'm sure it is. People like Stephen A. Smith was talking about, you don't give him an extension. Don't give him no extension. Stephen A., that's not your place to be talking about what of business should be giving another black man, get your hand out his pocket. Get your hand out his pocket. But what they did was they started to give the owners the idea of, no, we shouldn't give this brother no extension. Why not? He's worth it. He's worth 198. But he's only worth 198 if he's a good old boy. And that's the problem I have with you correspondents. See, it was just last week. It was just all good just a week ago. See, when Joe Tsai started to pull out his demands on what he wanted Kyrie to say as far as apologizing and doing all this BS to get back on the team, y'all talked about Kyrie all the way up until that point. And then records show, receipts show, episodes show. You started to say to yourself, oh, no, this is a little too harsh. So then you finally turned an edge after calling him, what does Shaq call him? Idiot, Charles Barkley, Stephen A. Smith. After y'all started talking about this man, and then y'all saw the demands of Joe Tsai, you said, hold on, it's starting to become a little bit harsh. And I think you only said that to save face because the black community, the black and brown communities was standing up like, whoa, we'll boycott this whole shit. Y'all keep on banging on Kyrie like that. Even the great minister Louis Farrakhan came out and spoke. Enough is enough. Kyrie comes back, starts to have an excellent tail end of the first half of the season, enough to earn an all-star for this year. Y'all left him alone. Y'all notice how when Kevin Durant went down with injury, Kyrie Irving kept that team afloat. He was doing his job. He was being loyal to his brothers that he takes to court with. But he didn't forget how you treated him. He didn't forget the Benedict Arnolds like y'all did with LeBron when he first left Cleveland. Y'all's media, how y'all get these people to subconsciously believe in everything you say, and then y'all go and turn on your own kind. He didn't forget. Kyrie didn't forget how you mistreated him, how you didn't support him, how you didn't back him. So now, because February 9th is amongst ourselves right before the All-Star break, Kyrie says, hey, I need an extension. Or I'm gone at the end of this season. What hurts my heart is that I'm looking at social media and I see other black dudes. I don't know if they're knowledgeable to the game or what. But they come out and say, oh, man, Kyrie's a quitter. And just like that, they turn on Kyrie again. Why, though? Because he's not the good old boy. He ain't being passive aggressive. He ain't being the good old boy. So to cover it up, y'all gonna say, oh, no, he's hurting on the team. Well, how's he hurting on the team if he got the team in third place in the Eastern Conference? How's he hurting on the team and he got them in a position to become a third seed, maybe even a second seed or a first seed? Some even got them favored to win the championship. So you're saying because Kyrie, who has been disrespected this whole time, because he chooses to walk at the end of the season, you don't think he's professional enough that if they don't extend him, that he won't finish the year out and still compete with his brother KD? I don't believe Kyrie would do that to KD and let him down. But we'll watch this week as it gets closer to February 9th and how the old media is going to go right back to attacking his brother, especially Stephen A. Smith. We'll watch. We'll watch how the correspondents do it. This is why I have a problem with you brothers. You're too wishy-washy. You know what you do? This is what you do. When brothers are at your level, right, and they trying to make it in their careers or their sports or whatever, you shun their dreams. You talk shit about them. They ain't shit. But as soon as they make it, then you talk shit about them. There's not a black man watching my show or a black man in America that should be mad at Kyrie because Kyrie wants to leave the person that was making him do basically slave shit just to be on the team. Or you got to do this, and you got to give $500,000 to the ADL, and you got to apologize, and you got to, man, get the fuck out of here. When Kyrie didn't produce the documentary, Kyrie didn't write the movie, the documentary or whatever. It's still the land of the free, bro. And the stance that I ride with Kyrie on is that, man, and fuck that, man. Fuck the money, man. Yeah, we love money. We need money. We live in a capitalist society, but money ain't my God. You understand me? It ain't Kyrie's God either. Because some of us is just chosen. We're not here to bend over and buck for you. But a lot of your correspondents are. You brothers kill me, man. You so quick to turn on any black entertainer or athlete just because you get your news from those people. You don't do the knowledge to it. You don't research what's going on, none. You just let them entice your emotion and then you run with it. And the first thing you do is you let them handpick and select what to like, who to like. You turn on your own kind. And see, we watch you type of brothers, man. We watch you type of brothers. Let's look at the Brooklyn Nets or as an organization, shall we? The Brooklyn Nets lost Steve Nash as a head coach. Many want to blame KD. Many want to blame Kyrie because Kyrie said, man, at the beginning of the season, shit, we can coach ourselves. Steve Nash may have or may have not been a problem. Seemed like his X's and O's wasn't that great, or he just wasn't a leader amongst men. He couldn't lead the men's in the Brooklyn Nets locker room. But you couldn't say that, could you, old media? You had to find two black men to go ahead and put blame on. But you got rid of Steve Nash. If you're the owner and you believed in Steve Nash, you would have kept Steve Nash. Then you have three, not one, three Hall of Famers on your team. James Harden leaves. KD requests to get traded. And then the disrespect you have for Kyrie. So are you going to put all the blame on those three brothers? And are you going to convince these brothers out here that it's their own people's fault all the time? Shame on you brothers, man. Why don't we just take a mirror and look at the reflection of where is it coming from? It may not be those brothers at all. It may be that the organization is dysfunctional and those brothers want out. But they can't just walk out. They got to receive the blame. Why? Because they received the big money. Getting $30, $35 million a year. I get it. But our people need to understand that. Our people need to understand that, man, we support our brothers, man. Where have you been? Especially these last 3-4 years watching both leagues, major leagues. Football, basketball. Where have you been? It's not even about competition no more. It's about politics. They hated on the boy Cat. And Cat got the whole idea to kneel from a Euro. Nobody blamed the Euro, though. They blamed Cat for standing up for his people. And some of y'all even turned your back on Cat. But you act like you ain't cooning. because you're around a bunch of motherfuckers that don't really want to tell you, excuse my French. You're around a bunch of people that don't really want to tell you the truth. Your yes men crew. So my thoughts on Kyrie is this. Kyrie, I trust in your character and your integrity to continue to play all-star ball throughout the rest of this season. You have them backed up in the corner now. They either have to extend your contract or they got to let you go freely, and they receive nothing in return. So I'm assuming they're going to get their money together or they're going to lose you in the next 4 days. I would love to see you go to LA with LeBron getting ready to break Kareem's record, with the accusation of Arua. His name's Rudy, or Ru, the Asian black brother they just brought in, Hamaturu, or whatever his name is. Let me know what his name is. Drop it in the comments. But I would love to see Kyrie go to LA. LeBron breaks Kareem's record, and then we get ready for the playoffs, man. I'm not a Laker fan, really, but the Laker fan did come from my home state, and they used to be known as the Minneapolis Lakers, so I still got love for it. But it would be lovely to see Kyrie with LeBron. It would be lovely to see Kyrie and LeBron knock off everybody out the West, go to the finals, and face KD. There's speculation that there could be a swap between Kyrie and Russell Westbrook. I would love to see it. I would love to see Russell Westbrook back with KD. Let me know what y'all's thoughts are on the Kyrie issue, on the Brooklyn Nets as an entire organization. Do they got their shit together or what? You go ahead and let me know. Now, in the meantime, go ahead and leave your comments. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit you with a 30-second commercial break. And when we get back, we're going to dive right in to this right here. You know what it is. 48 Laws of Power by author Robert Greene. We're going to deal with law number 10, which talks about the infection, how to avoid the unhappy and the unlucky. So I'm going to go ahead and hit y'all with 30 seconds, and we'll be right back. See you in a minute. Welcome back to Coffee Talk Podcast. This is the Cultural Variety Podcast show. And I am your host, MISHUMA SABA, M.SABA. And this is our Cultural Variety Podcast show. So thank you for tuning in. We right back at you. We just got done discussing Kyrie Irving, man. What's your thoughts on Kyrie? You know, he just made the all-star team. Go ahead and leave a comment. Does he deserve to be one of the starting five? Leave it in the comments. What do you think of Kyrie's career? Do you think he's a Hall of Famer? Do you remember the Kyrie Irving hitting the game-winning shot over Steph Curry and helping Cleveland win their first championship? Without that shot, they don't win it. Leave your comments and thoughts on that. Where would you like Kyrie to play for if he leaves before the All-Star break? Leave the team that you would like for him to play for, or who you think what team is going to be acquiring him. So go ahead and let me know. And excuse me for slowing down as I speak. You know, I just got to eat some tacos, so I was just in the middle of that. But yeah, go ahead and let me know what your thoughts are on Kyrie Irving, on the great Kyrie, man, one of the coldest basketball players, man, to ever move that pill, man. He reminds me of a 2023 Rod Strickland. And Dallas Comedy. We didn't forget about y'all, the Paul brothers, man. straight out of Illinois. All right. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to get ready to jump right into the 48 Laws of Power. As you know, here at Coffee Talk Podcast, we are a show that we like to do a lot of reading as well. Why? Because one, you don't see black men on television or social media reading at all. So we just letting you know, man, we are educated. We are very intelligent people. We do know how to read. We definitely encourage boys and girls to go ahead and read, man. We don't want no illiterate people in the village, man. Everybody needs to know how to read. You know what I'm saying? All right. So one of the reasons why I chose this chapter, law number 10, the infection, avoid the unhappy and the unlucky, is because of this. Do any of you have like friends, family, or you just see associates that always have a problem? They come and tell you a negative story. Oh, somebody just died. Oh, somebody just got robbed. Oh, somebody just got shot. Oh, somebody's purse just got stolen. Oh, somebody's Cadillac converter just got stolen. Oh, somebody this, somebody's kid did this, somebody did that, somebody did, oh, what, so-and-so's gangbanging, so-and-so shot anybody. And it's just like the news, man, where it's just every time they have negative. And when it's not negative, they wake up and they say, well, damn, let me watch first 48 because that's negative. Let me turn on the news because that's negative. It's like they need to have their negative fix. Like heroin users. You got to have your fix of negativity, because when you don't have negativity and everything is going so smooth, it bothers your mental. You unsure what's going to happen next because everything is going so positive that you have to call somebody and find out the latest gossip. You got to call somebody and tell somebody the latest negative pressure. So tonight I chose chapter 10 in the book 48 Laws of Power by author Robert Greene. Chapter 10, which is the infection. Avoid the unhappy and the unlucky. There's unhappy people, and they want you to take on that negative energy, that misery. They very unlucky. Not that we believe in love, but unlucky in the sense that even if they were trying to do something positive, they got to keep it negative because it works for them. They got to be socializing with negative people because it works for them. Let's go ahead and dive right into the chapter and let's talk about it. Law 10, infection. Avoid the unhappy and unlucky. Let's start with the judgment. You can die from someone else's misery. Emotional states are as infectious as diseases. You may feel you are helping the drowning man, but you are only precipitating your own disaster. The unfortunate times draw misfortune on themselves. They will also draw it on you. Associate with happy and fortunate instead. See, people think that you being, oh, you too good for us. No, the fact is you're too negative for me. If you're around a pity party, you take on pity party ways. If you're around negative people, you take on their energy, and that energy can kill you. There's a story that I'm going to go into first, and then we're going to end it with the keys to the power of this whole situation of avoiding the unhappy and the unlucky by author Robert Greene here at 48 Laws of Power, right? Let's go ahead and talk about the transgression of the law. So born in Limerick, Ireland in 1818, Marie Gilbert came to Paris in the 1840s to make her fortune as a dancer and performer, taking the name Lola Montez. Her mother was of distant Spanish descent, She claimed to be a flamenco dancer from Spain. By 1845, her career was languishing, and to survive, she became a courtesan, quickly one of the more successful in Paris. Only one man could salvage Lola's dancing career, and that was Alexander Dorget, owner of the newspaper with the largest circulation in France, and also the newspaper drama critic. She decided to woo and conquer him, investigating his habits. She discovered that he went riding every morning. An excellent horsewoman herself, she rode out one morning and accidentally ran into him. Soon they were riding together every day. A few weeks later, Lola moved into his apartment. For a while, the two were happy together. With Dorjet's help, Lola began to revive her dancing career. Despite the risk to his social standing, Dorjet told friends he would marry her in the spring. Lola had never told him that she had eloped at age 19 with the Englishman and was still legally married. Although Dorjet was deeply in love, his life started to slide downhill. His fortunes in business changed, and influential friends began to avoid him. One night, Dorjet was invited to a party, attended by some of the wealthiest young men in Paris. Lola wanted to go too, but he would not allow it. They had their first quarrel, and Dorjet attended the party by himself. There, hopelessly drunk, he insulted an influential drama critic, Jean-Baptiste Rosemont de Bivon, perhaps because of something the critic had said about Lola. The following morning, Bivon challenged him to a duel. Bivon was one of the best pistol shots in France. Dorjet tried to apologize, but the duel took place and he was shot and killed. Thus ended the life of one of the most promising young men of Paris society. Devastated, Lola left Paris. In 1846, Lola Montez found herself in Munich, where she decided to woo and conquer King Ludwig of Bavaria. The best way to Ludwig, she discovered, was through his aide-de-camp, Count Otto von Richburg, a man with a fondness for pretty girls. One day, when the Count was breaking fast at an outdoor cafe, Lola rode by on her horse and was accidentally thrown from the saddle and landed at Richburg's feet. The Count rushed to help her and was enchanted. He promised to introduce her to Ludwig. Richburg arranged an audience with the king for Lola, but when she arrived in the anteroom, she could hear the king saying he was too busy to meet a favor-seeking stranger. Lola pushed aside the sentries and entered his room anyway. In the process, the front of her dress somehow got torn, perhaps by her, perhaps by one of the sentries. And to the astonishment of all, most especially the king, her bare breasts were bravely exposed. Lola was granted her audience with Ludwig. 55 hours later, she made her debut on the Bavarian stage. The reviews were terrible, but that did not stop Ludwig from arranging more performances. Ludwig was, in his own words, bewitched by Lola. He started to appear in public with her on his arm, and then he bought and furnished her apartment for her on one of Munich's most fashionable boulevards. Although he had been known as a monsieur, he was not given the flights of fancy. He started to shower Lola with gifts and to write poetry for her. Now his favorite mistress, she catapulted to fame and fortune overnight. Lola began to lose her sense of proportion. One day when she was out riding, an elderly man rode ahead of her a bit too slowly for her liking. Unable to pass him, she began to slash him with her riding crop. On another occasion, she took her dog unleashed out for a stroll. The dog attacked a passerby. But instead of helping the man get the dog away, she whipped him with the leash. Incidents like this infuriated the stolid citizens of Bavaria. But Ludwig stood by Lola and even had neutralized as a Bavarian citizen. The king's entourage tried to wake him to the dangers of the affair, but those who criticized Lola were seemingly fired. While Bavarians who had loved their king now outwardly disrespected him, Lola was made a countess, had a new palace built for herself, and began to dabble in politics, advising Ludwig on policy. She was the most powerful force in the kingdom. Her influence in the king's cabinet continued to grow, and she treated the other ministers with disdain. As a result, riots broke out throughout the realm. A once peaceful land was virtually in the grip of civil war, and students everywhere were chanting, "Ramit Lola, Ramit Lola." By February of 1848, Ludwig was finally unable to withstand the pressure. With great sadness, he ordered Lola to leave Bavaria immediately. She left, but not until she was paid off. For the next 5 weeks, the Bavarians' wrath was turned against the formerly beloved king. In March of that year, he was forced to abdicate. Lola Montez moved to England. More than anything, she needed respectability, and despite being married, she still had not arranged a divorce from the Englishman she had wed years before. She set her sights on George Taffold Hild, a promising young army officer who was the son of an influential barrister. Although he was 10 years younger than Lola and could have chosen a wife among the prettiest and wealthiest young girls of English society, Harold fell under Lola's spell. They were married in 1849. Soon arrested on the charge of bigamy, she skipped bail, and she and Harold made their way to Spain. They quarreled horribly, and on one occasion, Lola slashed him with a knife. Finally, she drove him away, returning to England. He found he had lost his position in the army. Ostracized from English society, he moved to Portugal, where he lived in poverty. After a few months, his life ended in a boating accident. A few years later, the man who published Lola Montez's autobiography went bankrupt. In 1853, Lola moved to California, where she met and married a man named Pat Hull. Their relationship was as stormy as all the others, and she left Hull for another man. He took to drink and fell into a deep depression that lasted until he died 4 years later, still a relatively young man at the age of 41. Lola gave away her clothes and finery and turned to God. She toured America, lecturing on religious topics, dressed in white, wearing a halo-like white headgear. She died 2 years later in 1861. So what do y'all think about that story of Lola Montez and the 4 husbands she went through, and every husband that she encountered, it didn't work out, and every one of those that she encountered fell victim to her unluckiness, to her unhappiness, and to her negative draw? Let's continue. Lola Montez attracted men with her willies, but her power over them went beyond the sexual. It was through the force of her character that she kept her lovers enthralled. Men were sucked into the maelstrom she churned up around her. They felt confused, upset, but the strength of the emotions she stirred also made them feel more alive. As is often the case with affection, the problems would only arise over time. Lola's inherent instability would begin to get under her lover's skin. They would find themselves drawn into her problems, but their emotional attachment to her would make them want to help her. This was the crucial point of the disease, for Lola Montez could not be helped. Her problems were too deep. Once the lover identified with them, he was lost. He would find himself embroiled in quarrels. The affection would spread to his family and friends, or in the case of Ludwig, to an entire nation. The only solution would be to cut her off or suffer an eventual collapse. The infecting character type is not restricted to women. It has nothing to do with gender. It stems from an inward instability that radiates outward, drawing disaster upon itself. There is almost a desire to destroy and unsettle. You could spend a lifetime studying the pathology of infecting characters, but don't waste your time. Just learn the lesson. When you suspect you are in the presence of an infector, don't argue. Don't try to help. Don't pass the person to your friends, or you will become enmeshed. Flee the infector's presence or suffer the consequences. What is y'all's thoughts on Lola Montez, man? She sounded like she had a lot of problems. Like she was a skunk. Remember the cartoon Skunk? And every time he came around, he just smelt up the whole block. Every time Lola came around, men would get entranced with her beauty, but they would lose it all. Do you know brothers like that today? Leave it in the comments. Let's go ahead and talk about the keys to power as we end our show. Keys to power. Those misfortunes among us who have been brought down by circumstance beyond their control deserve all the help and sympathy we can give them. But there are others who are not born to misfortune or unhappiness, but who draw it upon themselves by their destructive actions and unsettling effect on others. It would be a great thing if we could raise them up, change their patterns, but more often than not, it is their patterns that end up getting inside and changing us. The reason is simple. Humans are extremely susceptible to the moods, emotions, and even the ways of thinking of those with whom they spend their time. That means it rubs off on you. The incurable, unhappy, and unstable have a particularly strong infecting power because their characteristics and emotions are so intense. They often present themselves as victims, making it difficult at first to see their miseries are self-inflicted. Before you realize the nature of their problems, you have been infected by them. Understand this. In the game of power, the people you associate with are critical. The risk of associating with infectors is that you will waste valuable time and energy trying to free yourself. Though a kind of guilt by association, or through a kind of guilt by association, you will also suffer in the eyes of others. Never underestimate the dangers of those that are infected with their unhappiness and their unluckiness. There are many kinds of infectors to be aware of, but one of the most insidious is the sufferer from chronic dissatisfaction. Cassius, the Roman conspirator against Julius Caesar, had the discontent that comes from the deep envy. He simply could not endure the presence of anyone of greater talent. Probably because Caesar sensed the man's interminglable soreness, he passed him up for the position of first praetorship and gave the position to Brutus instead. Cassius brought it, his hatred for Caesar becoming pathological. Brutus himself, a devoted Republican, disliked Caesar's dictatorship. Had he had the patience to wait, he would have become the first man in Rome after Caesar's death and could have undone the evil that the leader had brought. But Cassius affected himself with his own rancor, bending his ear daily with tales of Caesar's evil. He finally won Brutus over to the conspiracy. It was the beginning of the great tragedy. How many misfortunes could have been avoided had Brutus learned to fear the power of infection? There is only one solution to infection, and that's quarantine. Get away from them. But by the time you recognize the problem, it is often too late. And Lola Montez overwhelms you with her forceful personality. Cassius intrigues you with his confining nature and the depth of his feelings. How can you protect yourself against such insidious viruses? The answer lies in judging people on the effects they have on the world and not on the reasons they gave for their problems. Infectors can be recognized by their misfortune they draw on themselves, their turbulent past, their long line of broken relationships, their unstable careers, and the very force of their character, which sweeps you up and makes you lose your reason. Be forewarned by these signs of infectors. Learn to see the discontent in their eye. Most important of all, do not take pity. Do not immerse yourself in trying to help. The infector will remain unchanged, but you will be unhinged. The other side of infection is equally valid and perhaps more readily understood. There are people who attract happiness to themselves by their good cheer, their natural beyonce, and their intelligence. They are a source of pleasure, and you must associate with them to share in the prosperity they draw upon yourself. So that's what we talk about when we're talking about building. You want to be with A-like minds. You want to be dealing with people that want the best for you. And you want the best for them. You don't want to be around people that block your dreams. You don't want to be around people that don't want to grow. You don't want to be around people that have a negative story every time you see them because it will rub off on you. And what do I mean by rubbing off? There's a rapper by the name of Joey Badass that says this. He stated that he didn't realize that if he had a negative mood, how that negative mood affected the whole household. So if you are carrying around a negative mood, that's affecting your children. You can't be around people that are negative all the time. This applies to more than good cheer and success. All positive qualities can affect us. Terrian had many strange and intimidating traits, but most agreed that he surpassed all Frenchmen in graciousness, aristocrat charm, and wit. Indeed, he came from one of the oldest noble families in the country, and despite his beliefs in democracy and the French Republic, he retained his courtly manners. His contemporary, Napoleon, was in many ways the opposite. A peasant from Corsica, taciturn and ungracious, even violent. There was no one Napoleon admired more than Terrian. He envied his minister's way with people, his wit, and his ability to charm women. And his best he could, he kept Terrian around him, hoping to soak up the culture he lacked. There's no doubt that Napoleon changed as his rule continued. Many of the rough edges were smoothed by his constant association with Tyrion. Use the positive side of this emotional osmosis to your advantage. If, for example, you are miserable by nature, you will never go beyond a certain limit. Only generous souls attain greatness. Associate with generous, then, and they will infect you, opening up everything that is tight and restricted in you. If you are gloomy, gravitate to the cheerful. If you are prone to isolation, force yourself to befriend the gracious. Never associate with those who share your defects. They will reinforce everything that holds you back. Only create associations with positive affinities. Make this a rule of life, and you will benefit more than from all the therapy in the world. That is chapter 10 of 48 Laws of Power by author Robert Greene. And chapter 10 talks about the infection, how to avoid the unhappy and the unlucky. Go ahead and let us know what your thoughts are. Do you be around people, or you notice your behavior when you're around negative people, how it changes? Do you notice how when you are around positive people that are pushing growth, that are pushing to go to the next level, being righteous, you know how it rubs off on you, all that positive energy? Continue to be around those that want to see the best in you, that want to see you strive, that want to see you make it, that want to support you, and y'all support each other. Be around those types of people, but avoid the people that always have problems, negative problems, issues, always know where the fight's at, always know who got all the drugs, the perks, the ones that want to see you sick on fentanyl, all of the negative shit. Avoid them people, because you ain't gonna get nothing good by associating with them people. Do you understand? Thank you. So tonight, this is Coffee Talk, Grown Folks Social Hour. May you have enjoyed the reading tonight. And if you want to, please go ahead and share this show tonight. Talk about it with your friends, family, and your children. Also, continue to be positive. Continue to do all things with good intention, and you will continue to rise. Tonight, I am your host, MISHUMA SABA, and I'm going to hit you with the universal peace sign, and I'm going to say thank you for tuning into our show, Coffee Talk Podcast. You have a good night, a safe night. Whatever you get yourself into, just make sure that you are sucker free. And until next time, we meet again. I'll see you soon. Peace and love. I'm gone.